During the 5 or 6 years of mass-produced high-performance three-wheelers, the 1985-1986 Honda ATC250R set the standard for handling, suspension, and attention to detail. As the only third-generation high-performance two-stroke, the ATC250R had a level of refinement that was unrivaled. Although its out-of-the-box engine performance was a bit lacking in comparison to the 1986 Kawasaki KXT250 or Takati 3, the detuned Red Mill offered a lot of potential for a skilled engine builder. A little motor tuning and some chassis work resulted in a three-wheeler that was tough to beat on a rough motocross track back in the mid-80s. Thanks to their robust build quality, there are still quite a few water-cooled ATC250Rs on the used market today. What made them arguably the best machine of their time continues to make the Honda a winning choice in the growing sport of vintage three-wheeler racing. Inspired by an article in ATV Action magazine from 1985 featuring a national caliber CT Racing ATC250R, we decided to build our own modern-day national caliber 250R. We wanted our machine to be fully capable of winning races, taking advantage of modern components whenever possible, without wrecking the vintage design and appeal of the machine. We also wanted to provide enthusiasts with a buyer's guide for companies still supporting the ATC250R with replacement and performance parts. Our 250R's rebirth began with a complete teardown. The frame was inspected for cracks, then repainted. We wanted a like-new wobble-free ride, so a set of all-balls head tube bearings replaced our worn stock bearings. Lone Star Racing swing arms are superior to the stock swing arm in many ways. First, their TIG-welded 4130 chromoly construction is much stronger than stock. With less flex than the stock swing arm, it also provides a bit more rigidity to the rear of the chassis. Dual pinch bolts at the end of the swing arm keep the carrier from twisting under heavy side loads. The single pinch bolts on the stock swing arm are less efficient and lead to cracking over time. We ordered our Lone Star Racing swing arm 1 inch longer than stock for improved high-speed stability and to help keep the front tire on the ground and biting under hard acceleration. With our stock axle carrier failing, we replaced it with a Lone Star Racing billet bearing housing. Simply adding wheel spacers or wider hubs to widen your machine will only put additional stress on an already aging axle, making it more likely to bend or break. Lone Star Racing's Excalibur Pro Racing axle is adjustable between +1 and +4 inches wider than stock. Its extra width improves cornering stability, and its wider stance reduces weight transfer in corners, reducing traction for easier, more predictable sliding. The axle's stainless steel construction means no rusting, and its true lifetime warranty means it's the last axle you'll ever have to buy for your R.
When I first rode this thing, I didn't realize how wide it was until I entered the wood section of my track and I glanced down and the wheel was just 1 inch from a tree. Cornering stability is greatly improved. It's easier to keep the machine planted, and if the inside wheel does come up, it doesn't do it as quickly as stock. With it being wide, the only thing I found more difficult was finding a smooth line through uneven bumps. Its lower, wider stance makes it easier to slide, and the longer swing arm lets you get on the gas harder exiting turns and on the starts.
We wanted to significantly improve our 250R suspension while keeping it truly vintage, so we turned to the vintage dirt bike and ATV suspension experts at Racetech. They had done kits for the ATC250R in the past and created a custom setup for our Lone Star Racing +1 swing arm and 205-pound expert-level motocross racer Rob Ray. Racetech drilled out our fork's lower compression holes for unrestricted oil flow, then installed their gold valve emulators. The emulator mimics the function of a cartridge fork, separating out the compression and rebound circuits for individual tunability The emulator valve controls compression damping, using various spring rates and spring preload to control how much the valve opens under a given amount of oil pressure. The emulators are a trick add-on not enjoyed by racers back in the 80s, so tuning options were more limited back then with the stock forks. Rebound damping is still handled by the original rebound circuit, found in the damping rod. Changes in damping are achieved by using different weight fork oil. To finish off the fork, Racetech switched out the stock springs for stiffer 0.47 kg springs. Daystar fork boots were installed to protect our Racetech modified forks from dirt and debris. After an initial break-in ride, we switched over to 20-weight fork oil to slow rebound damping a bit. One other reason we wanted to stick with a vintage fork was because of concerns regarding frame stress, since these old chassis weren't developed to work with a more rigid upside-down fork. For our rear shock, Racetech replaced the stock piston with our high-flow gold valve. It allows unrestricted oil flow at the piston, preventing mid-stroke harshness, and puts all of the damping work on Racetech's custom-built shim stack. Finishing off the rear shock conversion, the undersprung stock spring was replaced with a 5.4 kg spring. Both ends received fresh fluid, and any worn parts were replaced during reassembly.
You know, I jumped this three-wheeler as high and as far as I do my dirt bike and my quad, and I thought my stock suspension was good. That's until I rode with this Racetech suspension. This suspension can take some big hits. I've overshot some large jumps, and I was really surprised how well it absorbed it. Although it has good bottoming resistance, the initial travel is quite plush, which does a good job of handling braking and acceleration bumps. I love how I could blitz through long sections of whoops without fear of kicking, packing, or doing anything unexpected.
Between the ATC and TRX 250Rs, CT Racing has Mickey Thompson and AMA Grand National Championships to their motor building credit. Discussing all our options with CT Racing owner Alan Knowles, he felt that a well-built 250 had all the power that any three-wheeler racer would ever need for motocross. Our 250cc class motor receives CT Racing's National Porting Package. The package includes porting and decking the cylinder, rechambering the head, and a new LAPC piston with an intake window cut by CT. A new top-end gasket kit buttons it all back up. CT's National Porting Package can be set up for pump or race gas. We opted to go with the lower compression pump gas setup, although CT Racing says the high compression setup makes a big difference and fun to ride low-end power, in addition to more power across the board. We'll try the higher compression setup in the future. To complement their porting, CT recommends their mid-range pipe and silencer, which comes in a beautiful show chrome finish. Adding the CT exhaust, removing the airbox lid, and rejetting is also a great first step in building a competitive racer. CT recommends running a Kian 38mm PWK Air Striker Carburetor, which we acquired from the carburetor experts at Sudco, who can help you with all of your carburetor needs for 2- and 4-stroke models. CT feels this carburetor is the ideal size for their national motor package and offers the most jetting options. For the R, CT recommends running the Mototest Sonari V-Force 3 reed valve assembly. The V-Force reeds feature double the edge surface of traditional reeds and travel half the distance to fully open. This is a trick part not available back in the day that CT's dyno has proven to outperform the competition in horsepower while providing enhanced throttle response. CT focuses their power gains in the mid-range for motocross. This increases power across the RPM range, pulling well off the bottom while notably boosting top-end power and over-rev. The CT motor pulls harder than stock from 3,500 to 9,500 RPMs, producing more than the stock peak horsepower at any point from 5,000 to 9,500 RPMs. On CT's dyno, the stock engine puts out 26 horsepower at the rear wheels. Our CT engine is now producing around 42 horsepower at the rear wheels. Alan Knowles pointed out, had we allowed them to build us a higher compression engine requiring race gas, we would have enjoyed a broader power band, more bottom-end torque, and around 45 peak horsepower. To harness all of the extra power, we replaced the R stock clutch basket plates and springs with components from Henson Racing. Hinson's billet-proof basket is used by nearly every top ATV racer in the world. They improve clutch performance, life, and heat dissipation. Machined from billet T6 aircraft-grade aluminum to aerospace tolerances, then hard-coated, Hinson's baskets are claimed to last up to 5 times longer than stock. We can attest from experience that they do indeed last far longer and improve clutch feel. Hinson's clutch plates are machined to work perfectly with their baskets, or your stock basket inner hub and pressure plate. The plates are designed to provide optimum hookup with minimum heat buildup. The fiber plates use non-abrasive organic materials that won't damage the rest of your engine as the plate material breaks down. Hinson's clutch springs replaced our stock tired springs and are made of a quality chrome silicone wire.
Comparing the stock motor to the CT motor is basically like comparing a weed eater to a chainsaw. This is not a novice motor, but once I got used to it, I found it easy to ride fast. Throttle response is incredible. It starts pulling hard right off the bottom, and I can actually exit the turns a gear higher without even slipping the clutch. This thing has explosive mid-range power, which is great for short runs and jumps. It'll get you out of the gates fast on starts, and when you want to break the rear end loose into the turn, you just grab a handful of throttle instead of slipping the clutch.
With fresh pads recently installed and the rotors in good condition, the only thing holding back our 250R's braking performance were its stock brake lines. The stock rubber brake lines were replaced with Hell Performance brake lines, which are constructed of stainless steel braided Teflon hoses. The lines feature a non-abrasive PVC outer coating, along with stainless steel fittings, which are permanently swedged together. The front line features a clear plastic guard, which runs from the upper part of the number plate down to the lower fork leg, keeping the line from bending and hitting the front tire. The steel braided lines enhance brake power and feel, while various line and fitment color options let you customize the look of your machine.
You know, as for brakes, it's a Honda. It's always had good brakes, but I would say that the brake lines do give it a little better feel.
Kinda's front Max and Scorpion rear tires have been around since the three-wheeler days. The 23-811 front is an uncommon size due to the 11-inch front wheel diameter. The Max feature rows of perfectly vertical knobs to provide good directional control. The knobs are tall for good hookup in soft terrain, while the top of each lug features vertical grooves, providing more biting edges for hard track surfaces. The 18958 rear Scorpion tires lower the machine's center of gravity compared to stock. Their diamond-shaped dimpled knobs offer a good balance of forward traction and a willingness to slide on loamy or sandy tracks. OMF's 8-inch billet center wheels with super light drain hole beadlocks and reinforcing rings provide strength, security, and sex appeal. They start life as a strong DWT-190 wheel. They're then machined to accept OMF's bolt-on billet centers. Being able to swap out the billet centers allows you to change out the wheel's bolt pattern, offset, style, and color. The beadlocks add strength, are machined to be light, and to allow water to drain from behind them. Most importantly, the beadlocks keep your tires from popping off the bead when running lower tire pressures or in case you get a flat. The reinforcing rings add strength to the inner lip of the wheels and are machined to save weight. Let's face it though, looks matter, and these wheels scream that this isn't your average three-wheeler.
I've used these Kinda Scorpions in the past, and I've always liked how they had a great forward drive, but they can still break loose in the turns.
Renthal's 7/8 inch desert handlebars provide the wide clamping area and tall height needed for the old ATCs. Renthal's ATV grips feature a rough, tiny bullet headlight surface that offers great traction in wet or dry and remain very comfortable no matter how long you ride. ASV's F3 Unbreakable Levers feature ASV's double hinge design, allowing them to bend backwards in the event of a rollover, which is pretty much a given. The F3 levers are constructed of forged 6061 aluminum with stainless steel fasteners. They are completely rebuildable and covered by a 3-year warranty. The F3 Pro Model clutch assembly features a trick CNC quick adjust setup, double bearings between the perch and the lever, nylon rotator sleeve, and built-in dust cover. We added the optional ASV dust cover to the front brake lever to dress it up as well. Both levers feature adjustable reach and provide a modern feel. They are available in various anodized colors and add a trick finishing touch to your controls.
The Renthal Desert Vintage bars, they're a little wide for me. I do have short arms, and I can't trim them down because there's not enough area to clamp the controls to. But they are a very high quality bar, and they are durable since they have survived the crash. The Renthal grips, love them. They're very comfortable, they're easy to hang on to even when they're wet, and they seem to be very durable. The ASV levers, other than being sexy to look at, helps make the controls feel better than new.
Meyer Manufacturing offers plastic for many vintage applications. Their body parts are thermoformed from TPO polypropylene with a high-gloss cap sheet. We acquired a set of their white plastic, including front and rear fenders, radiator shrouds, and a front number plate which we trimmed to fit. Meyer's shine and fitment are on par with factory plastic. It's claimed to hold up well to the elements and is proving to be pretty chemical and scratch resistant. Our stock seat cover was replaced with a custom seat cover from Cosmic Quads. The new cover's construction was as good as OE, and their installation was flawless. All of the logos were properly sized and ideally placed. This is our second cover from them, and so far, they're batting 1,000. The look of our machine's bodywork was capped off with a set of die-cut Honda ATC250R decals from Moto Decals. They look cool, just don't get too carried away with the power washer if you want to keep them looking that way.
This thing is so beautiful from top to bottom. The handling is so much more stable than it was from stock. The suspension is a lot more fluent and forgiving, and I don't even see how even the pros back in the day could use this much motor in a three-wheeler.
You have to restore or build a vintage machine to understand how cool it is to complete a project like this. It's affordable to get into, and you can complete the build-up over the course of a couple years. Most replacement and all of the performance parts you'll need to build a vintage racer are still being manufactured today, and we found that the discontinued parts are still out there if you look.
You know, four-wheelers are cool. I own one, but this is unique. This is something that everybody doesn't have. You don't have to have $8,000 or get financing. You can pick a good used one up for $1,500 and turn it into this over a couple of years.
As a vintage racer, we think that most would agree that the ATC250R is tough to beat. This project's handling and suspension would make any racer faster, and its potent mid-range motor can easily put some distance between itself and the competition with a good rider on board. Having beaten every other vintage machine in its first 11 out of 12 motos, our Project ATC250R has proven to be more than competitive, and it's also a machine that anyone can easily duplicate.